In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And now it begins.
Now it ends.
Guess who's back? Back again. Back. Tell a friend.
What's up, Game of Throners? The long wait is over. The final season has begun. I gotta tell you, I'm a little bit sad because I know how close it is to being over. But either way, you know I'm filled with anticipation to see how this thing ends. Is it gonna go out in a bang or just fizzle out into obscurity? Oh, I can't wait to see how they tie up all these loose ends. So many different storylines to finish off. Will they tie it up nice and neat or leave it for us to decide? So many questions to be answered. But before we even get into the main series, what about that new opening they gave us? Did they give us a sneak peek and foreshadow what is to come and how it will end? What do you think? Let's talk about it. Our favorite series has always started out with the Astrolab flying over Westeros, shining a light on what parts would be emphasized in that episode. An astrolabe is any type of early scientific instrument used for reckoning time or for observational purposes. There have always been rings around the astrolabe, and just as the rings around the sun tell the story of our planet, if you look closely, the rings around the astrolabe also tell a story. One widely employed variety, the planispheric astrolabe, enabled astronomers to calculate the position of the sun and prominent stars. That's an interesting choice of words used to describe what's going on: Jon Snow, the sun, and the stars around him. In earlier seasons, the rings told the story of House Baratheon taking the throne and noble houses pledging their allegiance to the stag. This season, the rings are telling a much different story. It shows straight away a dragon burning King's Landing. Is this the Night King on Viserion? We've seen in Dany's dreams the throne room burnt, with snow falling inside. Is this the foreshadowing of that to come? It also looks like it may be burning the water right outside King's Landing, perhaps roasting a kraken. There also seems to be men standing under the dragon in the background. Are those the other White Walkers, or is that Dany on Dragon attacking King's Landing, and those are the Unsullied? We then pan north of the wall as to show the path and progression of the Night King's army. It shows the big hole in the wall that they pass through and how they bring the cold with them. We get a very prominent last hearth not once but twice from two different angles, so you know it's about to go down there. I'm loving the new graphics they're using this year. The path seems to lead from the last hearth to Winterfell, so we know it won't be long before the Night's King army gets there. It seems to show Winterfell buttoning down the hatches, so to speak, barring the gates and whatnot. Then it takes us inside where it shows somewhat of a forge at work, then down into the crypts. I like how the floor keeps flipping and then coming together, almost as to signify a change is coming. Back up to the astrolabe rings, and what is this? It shows a lion that looks more like a griffin with a fish in its mouth, looking at a wolf being hung from the gates, and what would seem to be a wight holding a blade in one hand and a dire wolf's head in the other. What's really interesting is that this is shown right after coming out of the crypts of Winterfell. Another way to interpret this scene is that of the Red Wedding. The lion has a fish in its mouth, a la they have Edmure Tully hostage at Casterly Rock. The wolf is feathered with arrows and seems to be hanging from the twins, the House Frey sigil, and I suppose that could be a Bolton holding the wolf's head. But I would still say that's the Night King because there still seems to be some dead fish at his feet. It also somewhat looks like a kraken recoiling in the corner. The way the sun is angled in the background to me looks like a dragon's eye, and the man holding the wolf's head has what looks to be a broken sword in his other hand. Or could that just be a dagger? Perhaps the same one Arya is holding now. And last but certainly not least, the tail of the lion looks almost more like a tree branch than a tail. And who do we associate with trees? That's right, Bloodraven. Was this a tail-wagging the lion situation? Was Bloodraven influencing Tywin's decisions? Was it actually Bloodraven who came up with the idea of the Red Wedding and planted it in Tywin's head? I like this scenario a whole lot better than it foreshadowing more direwolves dying. Speaking of the Lannisters, back down to King's Landing, and it's interesting because one of the first things they show are two bridges being built. Is this symbolizing Cersei making new allies, aka Euron and the Golden Company? We then head down into the dungeons and we see an iron dragon's head. I believe this is supposed to symbolize another scorpion. Will Cersei try this tactic again? If so, will it be aimed at Dany or the Night King? Back up into the throne room, and with the lion above the chair, we know it's still a Lannister that sits the Iron Throne. Back up to a band on the astrolabe, and what is this? A picture of a mama dragon and 3 baby dragons ready to feed on 3 unsuspecting cows? With the red comet streaming in the back? Is this telling us another dragon will die, but then the last dragon will hatch a few eggs to bring 3 more into the world? I love it, and that may just actually be the ending to our story. Now wouldn't that be something? And the cycle continues. You already know I'm super pumped for this season to get underway, and I can't wait to see where they go with this story that I have fallen in love with. I think they're off to a great start with the new opening sequence, and I hope it just gets better from here. I know it's going to be kind of a slow start in the first episode because they got to get us caught up and let us know which direction it's going to go in, but I sure hope they end with a bang. Stick with us, we're going to be making videos all season long, so until next time, game on.
Don't let it happen again. Bend the knee.
I will not.